All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Sports Show. This is episode 988. Fans, please tune in. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Anchor, and all the Spotify and all the podcast platforms. We are joined by a special guest today. His name is Marcus Smith II. He's a former Louisville NFL outside linebacker. He played for the Philadelphia Eagles, Seattle Seahawks, Washington Commanders now. But now he's doing big things off the field. He had a great career, in my opinion, a great linebacker throughout his career, and now he's doing big things. He has a podcast called The Circle of M Podcast that focuses on mental health and sports and other things. And now he's an author, a speaker, he's part of a A33 MS Sports program with Aaron Wallace. Shout both of them out, which they focus on training young kids, young athletes that are trying to get to their goals. And man, fans, please, you definitely have to tune in, fans, and ask questions on our Spreaker app because we're in for a special one. So Marcus, thank you for joining the show, and truly an honor.
Man, appreciate you for having me. I really hope that, I continue to, push forward what we are pushing for as far as the kids, as far as mental health, as far as pretty much everything. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come on and speak and be on your show.
Yeah, no problem. So tell our fans, I want to start off with your childhood and what got you started in football, and who did you look up to as role models in football?
Well, I started football when I was 5 years old. My parents had to do something with my craziness because I was crazy when I was younger. Obviously, they had to do something with my energy. So baseball was like the first sport, and then the second sport was football. And I kind of grew a love for it.
Wow.
And what pushed me towards it, my dad used to turn on Monday Night Football when I was younger. And I had to go to bed at like 9 o'clock. But I never wanted to go to bed. I always watched. I was always fascinated with, how the game was played, and not realizing that one day, that was my goal and my aspirations. But like one day I would be literally doing exactly what I used to watch. And so who I used to look up to growing up was Michael Vick, because I was a quarterback, and that was somebody that looked like me that could, really play the position, kind of like how I played the position. Obviously, I'm not a Michael Vick 2.0. We know who that is, Lamar Jackson. But that's kind of how it started.
Oh, so speaking of that, by the way, fans, I forgot to mention AK Money. That's your Instagram, Money. So,
but I actually need to change that. Yeah.
But I want to ask you though. Speaking of quarterback, what was obviously you're outside linebacker, but what was it like playing quarterback and learning different positions as a player in any sports? I feel like it's really important now for kids to learn multiple positions, so because teams and coaches love versatile players. So take us to when you were playing. What was it like just learning multiple positions for you?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is learning all of these positions. Well, I learned 3 or 4 positions. Well, I kind of know the whole back end now, the defense and the quarterback or whatever. But I think that you have to be open as a player. And if you have a coach that you trust who feels like you would be good at a certain position, I wouldn't shy away from it, because when you go to college and you go to these different schools, they want to see how much knowledge you know. They want to see, are you open to changing positions? And would you do what it takes for the team? So I think that's kind of like how I was when I've been playing quarterback my whole life until I got to college. I played running back a little bit, but I had never played defense before. And Coach Strong presented it to me when I was a freshman in college, because it was 2 seniors in front of me. And there was no way I was going to play that first year with them in front. So I would have been redshirt. So he looked at me as, what do you think about playing linebacker? And I told him, I said, well, coach, whatever it takes to get on the field, I just want to be on the field. And so they took me through this whole process, and it was not an easy process because offense and defense are totally different. Yeah. The X's and O's of offense are just more, it's a lot harder than defense, but the whole defensive scheme I had to learn like so quickly.
Wow.
And it started to help me because I knew what the quarterbacks were doing. I knew what the receivers doing. I knew what the tackles and everything was doing. So it helped me out on the field in a tremendous way because I knew the offensive side of the ball. So for younger kids and for people who's watching this who, maybe want their son to play one position, it's not bad to play another position, or it's not bad to learn another position, because you may make a position change and it may change the trajectory of your life, because I didn't know I was going to be a first round draft pick. You know what I mean? I had no idea, but that's the way it lined up.
Yeah, so we already have a fan question for you. So one of our fans want to know, did you ever think of sticking at quarterback, or what? They want to know what made you change to defensive player.
So, well, I definitely thought about staying at quarterback. It was times where I wanted to quit because obviously when you play in the trenches, it's just a different type of game. I am a laid back type of guy. I'm a quarterback type of guy, if you will. Quarterbacks are really poised, really just cool, calm, and collective. And that's how I was. So at first, I would get pancaked all the time. My coaches would be yelling at me all the time. They would be calling me soft. They would, but they were doing it really just to kind of like get me acclimated to playing the defensive side of the ball, because you have to be ferocious. You have to be this person playing it, and it's hard for me to be like that. So yes, to answer your question, I really wanted to go back to quarterback, and I was on the verge of quitting. And going to another school, but my coach pulled me in. And he told me, stick with it. Like, you're doing good. I thought I was doing terrible, but you're doing good. And that's what happened. I ended up sticking with it, and the rest was history.
Man, you were speaking of quarterback. You were a great quarterback in high school. Take us to that day. You played for Hardaway High School, passing more than 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, and you rushed for 227 yards and 4 touchdowns. So take us to the quarterback play for you in high school.
So my coach, he's actually he works at USF now, South Florida. He was my quarterback's coach. His name is Jonathan Gibson, and he came to me when I was a junior in high school, and he kind of taught me how to play quarterback. And so he would always take me, on Fridays, Saturdays, and really teach me like how to play the quarterback position. And that's when my ability and everything took off, because before that I was just raw ability, just running around, throwing the ball and things of that nature. But as I got older, my junior, my senior year, there was times where I was able to take over the game and actually will my team to a victory, and be that force that you see in your Cam Newtons, in your Lamar Jacksons, in your Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning. Like I was able to do that in high school, and that's how I really became the person or the player that I was, but not really knowing that a lot of schools wasn't looking at me to play quarterback. And that's the only reason. That's actually the only reason why I went to Louisville, because they gave me the opportunity to play quarterback.
Yeah. So, did you make the? So when did you make the change to defensive tackle? Was that in high school, or?
So no. So I made the change to linebacker.
Sorry, linebacker. That's what I meant, linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, it's all on the defensive side of the ball, so it's okay. But I made the change to linebacker first. My freshman year, right before Kentucky. We played Kentucky the first game, and I ended up starting. Oh, I moved a week early, and then I started against Kentucky the next week. So I'm like, not ever playing this position. I really don't know much. I'm just, a player, just playing. But then in that spring, they moved me to D-line. So I was playing 3 technique as, 250 pounds, right, in the spring. So as I got better playing like defensive end, 5 technique, pretty much like in the trenches where all the big boys at, I got better and started to learn the defensive better, they started to have me play both. So that's when I moved to linebacker and D lineman. So I would play linebacker first and second down, and then on third down, I would rush. Kind of like what Michael Parsons does for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, that. He is incredible.
Hey, speaking of Micah, I mean, yesterday we had Tom Ali on the show yesterday, and I'm sure you know him. And what are your thoughts on? Was he another player that you like to watch when you were playing too?
Yeah, it was a couple of players that I like to watch. Tom Ali, he had a lot of rush moves that we would sit there and we would watch in the meeting room. It would be me, Brandon Graham, maybe Fletcher Cox, Cliff Averill, people like Michael Bennett, like all these players that I actually play with, and I actually like to watch too. And Tom was a person that was an older vet that we could watch and that we can learn from, because he played for a long time, and but he was a great player that we should watch with the Chiefs. And I used to love I never actually got to meet him, but I used to love watching him because we never played Kansas City when I was playing. So, but no, watching him was actually a treat, because he had so many different array of moves, and you could just kind of like take what he did and kind of like make it your own.
Yeah, it was an honor talking to him yesterday, man. It was a great show yesterday. He's one of, in my opinion, a great player in his career. And
great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for you though, tell our fans about Louisville, going into Louisville, and what does that mean to a player where a team and a coaching staff believes in you from day one, where they trust you. You can play both multiple positions, and like you said earlier, they were the only school that gave the opportunity to play quarterback. So what does that mean to you for an athlete to have that support system for you coming into a new situation?
It's very important. I think the coaching staff was bar none. I feel like they were like father figures for all of us, and it's hard to find that, but it's very important for someone to be able to say what they mean. Some programs don't necessarily do that, but you want to find programs who are going to take your child and mold them into the very best person that they can possibly be. And then football is after that. So that was the most important thing with Coach Strong. He wasn't so much worried about the football aspect. He was very serious about the schoolwork and us graduating, because he knew that if it was 105 guys on the roster, that most of us wouldn't be going to the next level. We would have to get our degrees and move on from that. So I think that was the most important thing with going to Louisville, was because he and his coaching staff really harped on schoolwork and getting your schoolwork done. And then everything else is secondary after that. But they were very honest with me, even though I didn't play quarterback for a long time, and they maybe had, thoughts of maybe we should just put him here. Yeah. They wanted to put me on the field in some type of way and use me in some type of way. So I always will be grateful for that, because it changed my life forever.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you there when Lamar Jackson was there, or was he a little after?
So I'm older than Lamar.
Okay.
But he came, I think Lamar came in 2015. I was already gone. Okay. But I got to meet Lamar twice.
Oh, wow.
Amazing guy too. Obviously L1C4. So got to put the L's up with Lamar.
He needs to get that money now, the bag. He deserves it.
He definitely does. And he shouldn't take anything less, because he's a once in a generation type player. And he can, and I will go on record in saying this, he can win a Super Bowl. I believe that he can do that. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. So we have another fan question for you. They want to know, what was it like playing underneath the lights on Friday nights in high school football?
Oh man, it's like chills. You get goosebumps, chills about playing, because it's like, obviously I deal with the anxiety a lot. Yeah. Still now to this day, I talk about it with mental health, but before games, it would be like this this feeling in my stomach that I couldn't get rid of. And it's like the first hit or I get hit or something, like I'm lathered up and I'm just ready to go, But playing under the lights it felt like your favorite food, like you're so hungry and you're about to eat, you can't wait to smash the food. That's how it felt playing under the lights, because you have your parents, your people in the stands watching you, and you could just block out all the noise and just focus on the game. So that's what I was really good at. My father was very hard on me. And, that was the only place where I could really find peace and I couldn't hear anything. I knew I would talk to my dad afterwards, right? He would give me the best pointers that he could possibly give me. But the game kind of like gave me peace.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we go back to your Louisville career, tell our fans, let's talk about the mental health thing you have. So tell our fans about that. I think it's really important to talk about. And I do another podcast with 4 other people that focuses on mental health, and that you'll be a great guest on that podcast too. But for you, just tell about your story and how you overcame it. And before we go back to the Louisville career.
Oh, well, so, I had a run-in with suicide. I had been dealing with anxiety and depression since I was about 8 years old. And in our communities, of course, we don't talk about them.
Yeah.
And it goes unnoticed. So I didn't really know that I was dealing with that till later on, till I, started to go to therapy. And long story short, I signed a deal with the Seattle Seahawks my 5th year. It was a 1-year deal. It's like a prove-it deal, basically saying, hey, if you do well, maybe we'll sign you back. Or if I do well, then I would, extend my career somewhere else.
Wow.
And I was going through pretty much the same thing that I was going through every year, and I just couldn't take it anymore my 5th year. And I had got to a point where I almost, ended my life. And after that, when God gave me a second chance, I vowed to myself that I would continue to talk about it and I would continue to do the work, because I know it's a lot of guys that are going through this, women, or let me not say guys, but a lot of people are going through this, and they just need a voice, and they need somebody that can like agree with them and let them know that they're not alone. So through that journey, I started the Circle of M podcast, is what you talked about earlier. It comes out every Thursday. We just put out the first episode, and we're going to be talking about and I got some good guests coming on as well. Some more former players and just other people who could give a different perspective on mental health. But that's kind of like my mental health journey. I have a foundation where it's called the Circle of M Foundation, where the podcast lives, right? And that's the whole mission. The mission is to be able to unmask the feelings that cause anxiety and depression. You have to be able to talk about the feelings first or acknowledge the feelings first before we can actually go at what the problem is.
Well, yeah, that's a crazy situation. Thank you for sharing that to our fans. And most people won't do that, but for you, what would you say that when Seattle came calling again for you, giving you that prove it deal, would you say that changed your life a lot, giving you the second chance by Seattle?
So I would say, so what happened when I signed the deal, that August, I walked away from the game. And I walked away because I felt like my mental health was more important.
Yeah.
And Seattle, they did me great. They allowed me to walk away, and they actually sent me the therapist that she was my therapist for 2 to 3 years, and we still have a great relationship. But because they dealt with me so amazing, I was able, because my wife was pregnant at the time, I was able to see my daughter born. And then after that, I started to train again. Okay. And then I signed with the Redskins that November.
Oh, wow.
So I actually got to come back and put mental health to the test on the football.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing story right there. And so a lot of people need to listen to your story, man. It's really unbelievable. For you, back to Louisville, tell our fans some of your best moments, best games you had with Louisville, and tell about the atmosphere. They have one of the best fan bases, in my opinion, in college football.
They do, man. The atmosphere is crazy. Actually, when I was there, the stadium wasn't like a full bowl. Now it's a full bowl. So when you go in there, it's rocking. The everything about it is electrifying. You would love it. The campus is tremendous. If you're thinking about going to the University of Louisville, I would highly recommend go take a visit. Just go see it. It has a Muhammad Ali Center. You get to go see the Muhammad Ali Center and all the things that he did as a pro boxer. So everything about it was great. In my number one favorite game, I got two favorite games. We played Florida in the Sugar Bowl, and this was 2012, I believe. Played Florida in the Sugar Bowl. They were ranked number 3. We were ranked number 16, I think, or 17. And we beat them we did a good job. We won the game. I have a Sugar Bowl ring now, and I had 2 sacks that game. So I played a big piece in helping our team win that game. So that was a milestone for me, because right after that, I was able to get a insurance policy because my draft stock had went up.
Right.
And I didn't realize that, playing on the national stage would help me do that.
Right.
And so that was one of the greatest because I was happy with my family. And I was the first person in my family to ever make it that far. So I just felt like that was super big. And then the last game was when we played against Miami. We played Miami in the Russell Athletics Bowl. And, I had a great game, that game too as well. And I think that game really showed my versatility as a player. And I got to play a lot of different positions that game. And so right after that, I had to go. Right after the game, I had to go out to Arizona to train and get ready for the Senior Bowl. So I really had no time to even relax and just look at anybody. I just had to go right after the game.
Wow. We have another fan question. They want to know, what was your sack celebration throughout your career?
Man, so my sack celebration throughout my career usually is like doing this, kind of like the Justin Houston sack celebration, because I'm always giving thanks to God, because I wouldn't be here, if it wasn't for him. And that was just always my appreciation, showing him my appreciation for, allowing me to play the game and allowing me to get as far as I have. So that was pretty much, my sack celebration. I try not to do too much just because, I was big on the next play, trying to get to the next play. But when I did celebrate, I would give all glory to God.
Wow. Yeah. So speaking of Louisville's future, what do you like about this team? Obviously, they produced a lot of NFL players, including you, Lamar Jackson, and they had Mekhi Becton. Man, this guy's a freak, offensive tackle from the Jets. But what do you like about the future of the Louisville Cardinals now?
I think it's really good. They actually just picked up a one of their player development guys, Deion Branch. He went to Louisville also, and he played for the Patriots. So I think the people that is gonna be coming in there now, they have him to help guide them through their overall college experience, and they're more likely to make it or to succeed in life and to get to the NFL. So I think what they're doing now in Louisville, I think it is something that, can't be broken. And I think they're going to do really well, actually. And I think it's going to get back to when we were going to the Sugar Bowl and we were, because now they can be in the running of going to the national championship if they do everything that they're supposed to do. So the kids that are coming in, the coaches that they have, and the people that they're putting on staff, I think they're trying to build, a championship team. So I really think that it'll happen.
Maybe down the line, If you're up to it, maybe they can add you to the coaching staff.
Well, you know, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I love coaching. Obviously,
Yeah.
um, it's more so coaching in a way to get them to the college,
Yeah.
right? So I try to stay on that side of it because I want them to know the ins and outs before they get there.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, coaching in college or coaching at an NFL is very demanding, right? And so I want to be able to be free and be able to kind of like sit down, talk to them so they know what to expect because I didn't necessarily know what to expect.
Hmm. Yeah. So tell us. This is good timing since it's Combine week. So tell our fans about your Combine. How was your Combine process? What was it like there back when you were playing? And the next part to this question, tell about your draft experience. You got picked round 1, 2014, pick 26 by the Philadelphia Eagles.
So combine experience, it was an amazing experience. Very, very tiring, though I will say. It's like it's a test. They drain you pretty much for 3 days. And then on the 4th day, they want you to perform.
Yeah.
The reason they do that is because when you're in the NFL, it's draining throughout the week and then you get a game, right? So you have to learn how to get your body ready and there with the combine. And I was able to run a fast time. I ran a 4.6. Some had me at a 4.5. And I was able to do the drills and everything really well. And I think it helped my draft stock go up because they got to see me pass rush and they got to see me drop in coverage. So that overall experience was, I would say, tiring, but at the same time rewarding because it's a place that you've always dreamed of going. Like everybody wants to go to the combine, and it was something that you can't even describe in a movie. It's like, whoa, this is exactly what I was, dreaming of. And the second part to that question, I didn't get invited to the
the Radio City or whatever it's called.
Right. Well, I didn't get wherever the draft was held. I didn't get invited to that.
Oh, okay.
Because my draft stock was, I think, 2nd round, maybe. But what happened was in the draft, a lot of pass rushers got took.
Yeah.
So, I was on people's boards, but after the 4th pass rush took, I went up, on the draft board. And I ended up getting picked 26.
Yeah.
And so I was in Louisville actually, and I was celebrating with my family. Nice. And it was a great experience. But I went right to work like the next day because I had to fly to Philly, do a press conference, come back and graduate from Louisville, and then fly right back to start OTAs.
You know what I just realized? You went from a Cardinal to a Eagle to a Seahawk.
I was like all birds. Like, what's up with the birds, man? Because I was a Hawk in high school, so it's like crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So, what was the draft call like from the Eagles, and how great? I mean, how relieved were you and your family once you heard the name that the Eagles were going to pick you?
Well, I had a feeling that I was going to go first round. Nobody else did, but in my heart, I was like, yeah, I think it could happen. Yeah. And they called me. It was. I remember the 25th pick. I remember it was like with the Browns. Like they trade back from the Browns, and they were at 20. And I can remember the 49ers and the Seahawks would have probably drafted me if they hadn't picked me at 26. And the D coordinator, Bill Davis, he was on the phone with me. It was actually a 267 number. That's like the Philly number. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, snap. My cousin was sitting next to me. It was like, is it who you think it is? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. So I picked it up, and I was kind of like just trying to talk on the phone, like without anybody there. And they was like, Marcus, we're going to take you with the 26th pick. I hope you're excited. We're excited. Then they went down the line of the different people I could talk to. And I can remember like being like shocked, like, oh snap, this is really about to happen. So I didn't say anything to my family. I was like, I got off the phone. I'm like, false alarm, false alarm. And everybody's like, And so I got up and I stood and I was just watching it. And I stood there because I'm like, draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Marcus Smith, and then everybody just went bananas. And I just broke down and started crying because, all the work that you put in and you don't necessarily know. You just have to have faith in your ability. I didn't know that I was gonna get drafted at linebacker. You have to trust. That's what we go back to with colleges and things of that nature. You want to go to the place where you feel like you can trust the coaches the most, and that is gonna really build your son up in a way that they should go, whether that's the NFL or whether that's in real life.
We have an interesting question here from one of our fans. They want to know, since we were a quarterback back in the day, did you get to come in in some of the offensive plays throughout your NFL career? They want to know if you did.
If I say that one more time,
they want to know if you came into some of the offensive plays in your NFL career.
Nope, I was in the offensive plays in college though. So when I got to the NFL, you got to think everybody is like good in the NFL. So there were other guys who were kind of like how I was, but kind of like a little bit better. You know what I mean? I was kind of like starstruck, like, whoa, like this dude is really good, right? But in college, they point conversions all the time. So I have where they threw a fade to me in a 2-point conversion where I caught a pass, like being a tight end, because I could have been a tight end too as well. I caught a slant. I caught a screen, ran a screen in. So they definitely utilized me, but I never got to throw a pass. I always wanted them to put me in the game to throw a pass like a OBJ when they put OBJ in the game and he's able to throw the ball and show his arm. I used to want to do that all the time, but I never got to.
Like the Philly special they did in the Super Bowl.
Oh man, that was brilliant. That was so brilliant. It was crazy because
Nick Foles.
I had just left that year and they won the Super Bowl. Everybody was like, and I was just like, well, I got my win. We beat the Eagles. Still happy about that. But I was happy for them when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I wasn't happy, but but yeah. So when you came in as a rookie, there was no pressure on you because you already had a lot of talent on that team. And if you look at the offensive side, Nick Foles, McCoy, who just retired, Riley Cooper, Jeremy Maclin, Jordan Matthews, Brett Selleck, Jason Peters, the best left tackle in my opinion in the NFL. You can go down the list on the offensive side, but on the defense as a rookie, you got to learn from Fletcher Cox, Cedric Thornton, Trent Cole, who we had on the show also. He's a great player. But yeah, you play with Malcolm Jenkins. So as a rookie, how was it? How feeling for you was it that there was no pressure on you right away coming in?
So it was crazy because I actually, my rookie experience wasn't the best experience because I was still figuring it out. I was still figuring out the position. And a lot of times I would think that, stuff was supposed to be given to me and because I was a first round draft pick and things of that nature. But what really broke the ice for me is when I was able to talk to BG, I was able to talk to Trent, and they would like push me in the right direction and be like, look, you got to work for everything you get. Like when you get here, you even have to do more to continue to further your career. And I didn't really understand that going into it because obviously I'm the first person in my family to ever make it this far. So I didn't really have anybody to kind of like show me the ropes. But when I got there, I had Brandon Graham, Trent Cole, D'Amico Ryans, Malcolm Jenkins, all of these people that kind of like helped steer me in the right direction. And it was amazing. It was amazing for me. I didn't play a lot my first year, obviously, because I was having troubles. I wasn't playing at my best. But then, once I started to figure it out, my second year, that's when I got injured. So it's like, you know what I mean? But the first year, the experience, I would never, take it for granted because I learned a lot And I learned a lot from some great players. Obviously, D'Amico Ryans, he's a
Yeah.
D coordinator in San Fran, I believe.
Yeah.
So you got all these people. I just talked to Brandon Graham the other day, and he's doing really well, still going to further his career and play and keep playing. So it was an amazing experience. Even though I didn't play as much that year, I learned a lot.
Well, yeah, Brandon Graham, a great player to watch. Obviously, tough for us to watch every night in the same division, but I respect him as a player, man. This guy can tackle that. He can get to the ball quick. He's he's one of the best underrated linebackers in the league too. But for you, speaking of, we have a interesting here question for you from one of our fans. They want to know what was the atmosphere like in Philly, because they can get on you quickly if you don't produce. So they want to know how long did it take you to adjust to the fans?
Well, the whole time I was there, I was trying to adjust to the fans because obviously it's really, they're very passionate and they want you to produce. They want you to play. And I used to pay attention to that. And it used to weigh me down. I'm not gonna lie. It used to weigh me down sometimes, but I understood, but overall, the love, like how you are in the stadium and how it's rocking and how when you're winning and how it's a great atmosphere to be a part of. You know what I mean? It's amazing. So, other than that part, I just feel like the experience and with the Eagles kind of like shaped how I view sports and how I was able to continue to push forward. And once I left, I took a little bit of Philly with me to Seattle. And then once I left Seattle, I took a little bit of Seattle with me to the Commanders and how they approach things. So I just feel like it wasn't, I understood, how the fans, it was grueling me. Don't get me wrong, because I didn't play that first year. You're a first rounder. They like, yo, this guy sucks. You know what I mean? But it wasn't that. It was just, I was truly having some struggles mentally, physically, and I was just trying to find my way. You know what I mean? So, you got to give me some time.
Yeah. So, what was it like playing underneath Coach Chip Kelly? What did you learn from Chip Kelly?
So Chip when it comes to like the Army and the thing, he would take a lot of his everything that he talked about was coincided with the Army and how the Army did things. And I understood that too. It was very methodical in how he kind of moved and did things. And obviously it didn't work out the way we all would want it. But I would say when I was there, it was overall a good experience. I think him bringing the offense, the spread offense, and running it the way that he did, I don't think nobody else did that. And I think he still could possibly do that. But obviously, you have to have the right quarterback you need a Lamar Jackson to run that type of offense, right? And I think through that, it was a great experience with me being there because I was in shape. Like, think about this. We would be in practice, and they run one play and they right back on the line. Oh. So you get 4 plays in a matter of maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds, something like that. And you right back on the line. So when you're in the game, it feels, when the game is slowed down, you get an offense who is just running, regular pro style offense. It's like you're in shape and you're ready. Wow. So that's what I loved about it too, because I felt like I was always in shape.
Well, that's. I mean, now he's back in college, UCLA. He's doing a great job there as a head coach. And for you, what would you say some of your best games as an Eagle, best moments? Tell our fans about that, and also one of our fans want to know, what was your hype music throughout your career?
Oh man, hype music would be. I used to listen to Boosie a lot, and I used to listen to Meek Mill a lot, obviously, because I was in Philly, so you had to listen.
Dreams and Nightmares. That's what I posted on your post when I promoted it.
That was a great song. And one of the games that I remember, my first sack was actually against Eli. So
Oh wow.
sack of my career, obviously I think he's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But first sack of my career was against Eli. That was an amazing feeling, experience. And then my sack against Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
So, and it was against another Hall of Famer, which is Tyron Smith. So
yeah.
I was able to get a sack on him. I was like, yo, because when you watching film, he's like I don't know what you call Tyron Smith.
He's a bulldozer.
Yeah, like he has this what they call it, like this thing on his arm.
Yeah, the
But it's really for a knee. So his arm is so big that they put the actual knee brace on his arm. That's wild, But those two experiences were probably my best experiences playing in the league when I was with the Eagles.
Wow, that's awesome. Speaking of the NFC East, what was it like those battles between the Cowboys, Giants, and Washington throughout the years?
Those were the most intense games, honestly, because those are your division games. So the fans are going to be out both sides, and that's really who the fans want to beat. So if you're playing for the Eagles, like they want to beat the Giants real bad. They want to beat the Cowboys real bad, and Washington real bad. So those games used to be tremendous. Like the fans would be outraging, and that's what you feel when you run out to the field and the goosebumps that you get. So those rivalries were, I remember we was playing to the Commanders. I want to say the Redskins so bad, but we was playing the Commanders, and one of the D linemen cracked back Nick Foles, and Jason Peters, the bodyguard, he ran all the way from across the field and knocked them over, and it just like started this big brawl. You could see T. Cole running across the field, and that was like my first time seeing like, whoa,
wow,
yo, this is the NFL. This is real, because you see this on TV all the time.
Yeah,
you're a part of it. It's actually fun. Nobody got in trouble, of course, but that's the rivalry that we talk about.
Yeah. So speaking of what. Obviously, you played against great quarterbacks to your career, but what are your thoughts on when you were facing Dak Prescott? What did you notice about him as a player when you were facing him?
Dak was he's like, to me, he's like an Aaron Rodgers. He's like a top quarterback like that, because if you do one little thing wrong, he's gonna take advantage of it. And that's what used to happen a lot. And obviously, you guys seen it this year. Dak is an amazing quarterback. And I think he is on the cusp of really breaking something special, honestly. But as a quarterback for Dak, he has a great arm. He can throw it from sideline to sideline, from the numbers to the numbers.
Yeah.
He has a great running back in Ezekiel Elliott. And Pollard too. Honestly, he's a good running back too. So I think I really think people really don't give Dak Prescott his flowers after coming back from a gruesome ankle injury. But I also think that the Dallas Cowboys are on the cusp of. I know everybody is like, well, they didn't win the playoffs, and it's like everybody's mad, but I want to say that you kind of got to still give it a chance. Like, give Dak some time. I think he's going to really be there. I really do.
I think so too. As a Cowboy fan, I'm happy that we have a type of quarterback like that. I think he's a franchise quarterback. They just need a couple more pieces to get to the next level. But now you go
too.
Yeah. But now after Eagles, you go to Seattle, man. Another great organization. You got to play underneath Coach Carroll. You play with Russell Wilson, and you had a talented roster. You were part of the Legion of Boom defense. Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, who has a great podcast too. Michael Bennett, like you said earlier, man. So and Cliff Averill, I can't forget about him. So for you, what was it like being there and experiencing that?
Best organization I've been a part of. With all the organizations that I played with, that was the best one because Pete really made it clear to us that we were family. He always invited family to the practices. He made sure that we were a family first, and that's why I feel like Seattle wins a lot of the times because the word family is used a lot. And when you have a family and you love your brothers the way that they do, I think you win a lot. So playing at that organization was probably the best in my career. And if I would have stayed there, if I didn't go through the mental health
Yeah,
I probably would have stayed and maybe signed another deal with them, hopefully. And I would have loved to finish my career there
yeah.
because Pete Carroll he was actually him and my coach, D-line coach, Clinton Hurt. Clinton Hurt was actually my D-line coach in college too as
Oh,
well.
he just got a job now, right? With the
Yeah,
Seahawks?
he's a D coordinator now. And he was one of the first people, him and Pete Carroll was one of the first people that actually sat down with me and told me, hey, like your mental health is more important and you need to get the help that you need. Like they were there. I would never take for granted that opportunity that I got to play with them and get to play with all the great guys. Like I got to really meet Cam Chancellor,
Yeah.
Earl. I got to meet Brandon Marshall also when he was there. I got to meet Cliff Averill. All these guys, Michael Bennett, people that you see on TV winning national championships, Super Bowls, and I got to actually talk with them
Yeah.
and have conversation with them and just pick their brain on the different things that they learn. And it was like an experience that I could never get that experience anywhere else.
Yeah. So like, if you didn't go through those mental health situations, would you still be playing right now?
I think so. I think so. Obviously, what God has for me is to continue to do the work that I'm doing
Oh,
now. So I think that it happened the way it was supposed to happen. And God needed me to be on this other side to help guys who may be going through the same thing because I know it's a lot of guys that I've talked to that need somebody like me to uh, talk to and just um, continue to move that same thing that I talk about on the Circle of M podcast forward.
yeah. So tell our fans about the atmosphere because 12th man is a tough place to play in. The fans are crazy. In my opinion, the two toughest places to play in is Arrowhead Stadium, the Chiefs, and your stadium, the Seahawks. So take us to that. What was it like being part of that fan base and 12th man, the 12th man?
It was the loudest place I played because the way that their stadium is set up, they like hold the sound in because it's like the top roof is like over. So when people are yelling, the sound is still like blocked in a little bit. And then they have this sound leveler or whatever that is, and you can see the sound. But I didn't really realize that until like I actually got to play. And we was playing, I think we was playing the Eagles on Sunday night. And I remember like looking at, I think I was looking at Cliff because Cliff, he was hurt at the time because he had hurt his neck. And so he was standing next to me. And I couldn't hear nothing he was saying standing right next to me.
Hmm.
So that'll give you like the overall feeling of how loud it was. And you really have to communicate, like especially us on defense, uh, the fans are louder when we're on defense. So we have to communicate with each other because we cannot hear each other. So that experience was goosebumps in itself because those are experiences that you either see on a game or you watch. And being able to play in that type of environment and the fans are great because they see you out in public, they know who you, they love on you, just like you were one of them.
Wow. Yeah, so we have a great question from one of our fans. They want to know What's that one quote you live by every morning?
Ooh, I have a couple. I actually have a couple. Um, uh, well, it's not really a quote. It might be like a Bible verse, like Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans that I have for you are plans of hope and a future, and the plans to prosper." So that is one quote that I always live by, just because, or a Bible verse that I always live by, because it keeps me grounded when things are not going the way you necessarily want it to. You just have to continue to know that everything is in your life, is for your good. And it may seem like things aren't going the way you want it to be, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And if you can get through that process and not quit, everything will be okay. So that quote right there is kind of what I live by each and every day.
Well, yeah. So speaking of inspiring stories, the Griffin brothers are really inspiring, and you got to play with Shaquille Griffin throughout in your career with the Seattle Seahawks. Explain to him what was he like as a teammate playing with him, and after what they've been through, they continue to work hard like you, and they eventually played on the same team. But for you, what was it like playing with Shaquille?
So I was lucky to actually get to play with both of
Oh,
them,
both of them.
because I played with uh, Shaquille first. Obviously he came into the league 1 year before, and then Shaquem that he got drafted that next year. And I remember sitting down with them, talking to him and listening to him talk, and how his battle, learning himself and thinking that, couldn't do it at first. He had got to a point where, people wasn't giving him opportunity because he didn't have a actual hand. And it really diminished like his confidence and how he thought about himself. But he ended up pulling himself out of that. He was talking to his brother. He ended up playing and being a force for UCF. And everybody, the world took notice. So when he got to the Seahawks, I had a chance to sit down and talk to him, and I was blown away
Wow.
because of his thought process and how he thought. Like, an average person who may be thinking that their life is over because they don't have a hand, if they hear his story, you will automatically want to get up and want to fight and want to do exactly what you want to do, even though you don't have a limb. So I say that to say, if you're a person who is just like Shaquem Griffin,
Yeah.
and you starting off life pretty much on top, you can gain and do everything you want to do. And that's what he shows. He shows resilience and make it to whatever sport that you want to play. He inspired other kids to do the same thing. So that was my take on being able to talk to him, and it was amazing. He is a amazing guy. Him and his twin
Yeah.
brother, man.
Yeah, they're both great players too. And for you, I can't forget this thing. You play with Dwight Freeney, man. Dwight
Oh
Freeney. What was that? That must have been a treat for you.
man, it was literally trying to learn how to do the spin move. He has his famous spin move, and he wins on his spin move 98% of the time. Even when he was at the end, he came in spinning. And I'm just like, you're this old and you still are killing people with this move.
Wow.
So that was the amazing thing about being his teammate, because he would tell us stories and different things as they were, playing in Indianapolis Colts, and how playing with Peyton, how they ran a table, won a Super Bowl with Ryan Mathis and all those guys. And it was amazing because he was the OG.
Mm-hmm.
And, the things that we watched when we was younger, we actually got to hear those stories from the OG's mouth.
Well,
So learning how to do the spin move and taking some game from him, was immaculate, I would say.
I gotta say, would you say this was the best defense you ever played on in Seattle?
With the Seahawks?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And because when I got there, you had the Legion of Boom hadn't broke up yet. They were still there. So you had one corner, you had Richard Sherman.
Earl.
Then you had Earl Thomas still, Cam Chancellor. You still had Bobby. You still had KJ. You still had Michael Bennett. You still had
Cliff Averill, yourself.
Cliff Averill, Frank Clark,
Damn.
Russell Wilson. I mean, sheesh. The defense was loaded when I got there. So honestly, I was like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna play. You know what I mean? I'm just happy to be here. But I ended up getting in the rotation, and they loved on me the same way, and they helped me actually. It helped me, and I had a pretty decent season that year in my 4th year when I played with the Seahawks.
Yeah, so I want to ask you about Pete Carroll, man. You're a coach. This guy is a heck of a coach, still going at it. He brings a swagger to the team. He's much different from Chip Kelly. I don't know if you saw when they drafted they were talking to DK Metcalf. He took his shirt off with DK Metcalf. I don't know if you saw that, but he brings a funny side to him. So what was that like when playing underneath him and learning from him?
Well, I give you guys a secret. When I talk about family, he makes the days in office fun, right? He always has things that we do around the facility before we even go out to practice. We come in, we meet, right? He'll come in, he'll talk to us and talk about what the vision is, what the goals are, right? And then we'll play a game of basketball to see who could win, because he used to have this goal, and he would call like 2 people up and shoot like for 30 seconds or whatever. But just building the competitive nature as a team and as a unit first, because that's what is going to make each other better, and it's going to make you a better player. So that's what I learned. I learned how to compete in a positive way, instead of competing like, oh, I want to take your job. No, I do want to win the position, but I'm competing to win the position, but also help the team in a way, right? No malicious, no envy, no jealousy, or anything. Right? You still love your brother the same, and that's what I learned from him. He taught me a lot, and what I really loved about him was when all the racial injustice things were going on. He allowed us to be us. He didn't tell us to go a certain way. Whatever we wanted to do, he wanted to support us. And I remember him saying to us, he can't physically or mentally be in our shoes just because he's not the same color as us. But he said that he wished he could, so he could know what it feels like to be in that position. And that's what I really gained the most respect for him, because he actually really, I could tell he was sincere about that, and he wanted us to be okay.
That's why Seattle's always the top destination for free agents to go to.
Yep.
And so to sum up your Seahawks career, what would you say your best moment was as a Seahawk?
My best moment. So could it be on the football field or
on the football field, or actually, on or off the field, both.
One of my best moments was against Indianapolis Colts. I had a 1.5 sack. I sacked Jacoby Brissett. And it was a fumble. B. Wagner picked up the ball and scored. That was one of the highlights of my time playing with Seahawks, because it kind of shifted the game, and it was a Monday night game also, so everybody got to watch. And then off the field, I remember going to this school and talking to these kids. Michael Wilhoit. I think Michael Wilhoit actually plays or he's one of the coaches at the Saints now, I think. But I was able to go to the school, and I was able to talk to them. And the one thing I would say about the Seahawks, how good they are, they allow the opportunity for you to be able to go talk to the youth. They want you to go talk to the youth. And I got the opportunity to actually talk to them and kind of tell them my journey, kind of like what I'm doing now. So that was kind of like one of my highlights while I was there, because I really wanted to be in the community a lot.
Wow, that's amazing. And we have another fan question. They want to know, what was it like finishing your career with Washington?
Man, well, Washington wasn't the best experience. I want to say it wasn't the best experience, but um, you know, when I got there, it was a lot of moving pieces, and the whole organization was shifting at the time.
Well,
So we was getting like new players and new everything. Montez Sweat, uh, you know, Chase Young, all these guys are coming in. So I actually think that they're gonna be good. I actually think they're gonna be good. I think they need, a quarterback,
yeah.
of course, to be able to help them be good. You know what I'm saying? But ending my career there, honestly, I wish I could have ended my career in Seattle,
Yes.
right? But because I live in Maryland, I'm close to the Commanders, and I think the overall experience was not as good as it was with the Eagles and the Seahawks. But I won't take it for granted that I actually got the opportunity to play with them because I was able to further my career.
I mean, all I can say is we would have loved you to have you in Dallas at some point.
Man, I wanted to go to Dallas
Oh,
because our I think D coordinator, or he was a DB's coach. He was in Dallas for a while.
hmm.
Um,
Chris Richard.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rashard.
I mean, Chris Richard. Yeah.
Yep. And we had developed a good relationship when I was there in Seattle. So
Wow.
I had wanted to go to the Cowboys too as well to be a part of their organization.
Hmm. So now looking after your NFL career, and what a great career you had, and now you're focusing on the youth, and you have your own podcast, the Circle of the M. So what's it been like for you to have that podcast to focus on your story, mental health, and have former athletes on the show? And what's that been like for you, and having this Fitness 833 MS Sports with Aaron Wallace?
Um, it's been I'm not it's been a grind. It's been tough. Mental health is a daily battle. And I want to tell people that dealing with your mental health is uh, a daily thing. It's something that you have to continue to work on. It's not something that's going to go overnight. So I think what helps me is being able to talk about it, and I try to talk about it on any platform I can because it actually helps me release some of the stress that I've been dealing with. And the same thing with the kids with A&M Sports. They help me, push them to be better, and I can talk to them, and they listen to me
Yeah.
because I've been where they're trying to go. So it's amazing to be able to do that, especially with the Circle of Them, and that's how it started. It's just really just a conversation that starts it. You hear someone who is dealing with something, and you might be dealing with the same thing, and it'll force you to either look at yourself or go get help that you may need. And I think that's the most important thing because we all deal with something in some shape or form. It's just about how you move through life and how you're able to deal with it.
Yeah, so speaking of having your back from day one, obviously when it comes to an athlete, it's always a coaching staff or families. But I can say what I say I can see from this, it's always the wife or the girlfriend making those sacrifices throughout the player's career. So for you, how grateful to have your wife have your back from day one since you got married, and what you're going through, and just to be and sacrificing your family and while you're still playing and going through the mental health situation. How big a part of your life that your wife has been part of your life? Your wife.
Man, she's been a tremendous big part of my life because we got married in 2017. In the midst of me playing, and she was the one that was there when all the things were happening, and she was the one that kept me level, because we all, I think, as men, we need a good woman, good wife who can Carroll and also help us grow and enlighten us on things that we may be missing or things that we may have no control over but want control over. Because as men, a lot of the times, like, we want to be superior, we want to have some type of control, but when we lose that, we not a lot of times we have somebody where we can confide in and talk to, in which that person could be your wife. My wife her name is Allison Smith. She is a nurse. She's a midwife.
Wow.
And she's really big on mental health as well when it comes to women in general, having babies and postpartum depression. So she knows about all those things. She was the first one to tell me what I was dealing with. She was like, you have anxiety, right? But, I didn't know what that was at the time. She was the first person that actually brought it to my attention. And so because she brought it to my attention, I still went through the process of dealing with those things, but I could identify with it with myself now. And so that's where she really is one of the reasons why I'm still here today, being able to do the things that I do. If it wasn't for her, I don't know where I would be, honestly.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of our fans said, one of our fans said that they learned a lot today from this, and they said thank you for sharing your story on this platform.
Man, no problem. That's what we do it for. I'm glad you actually gave me the opportunity to be able to share on the platform. But that's what we do it for. Just free and being able to know that you're not alone, and we are going to stay. We're gonna get through it together.
Yeah, so a couple more things here before I let you go. I want to ask you about Tom Brady. Obviously, you played against Tom Brady throughout your career, and what was it like playing against the GOAT? And obviously, he retired. And there's some speculation that he might leave the door open about coming back, but we just don't know what he's thinking right now. But what was it like just facing him and seeing him continue at 45 years old and eventually retire?
Man, let me tell you guys a story. So my rookie year, we went to New England to practice against them during during preseason. And when you practice against a team, you practice against them, but then you play them on, the following, I think it was maybe a Thursday or Friday. And I remember being starstruck when I first seen him, and I'm like, yo. And I was looking, I'm like, wow, this is what the GOAT looked like. He really looked like somebody. Somebody said Michael Jordan, when they seen Michael Jordan, he looked like he was glowing. That's how Tom Brady looked. He just looked different, right? And I remember we was in 7-on-7, and there was no balls dropped. Like, not one ball. Like, 7-on-7 for Tom Brady is like taking candy from a baby, like, for real. Like, he was killing us.
Wow.
Killing us. You know what I'm saying? But that was just his rhythm. That's just what he done for years and years and years, right? Somebody drop a ball, he's on you, right? It's just the way that the organization was shaped. But playing against him was great in itself. But then secondly, I learned a lot because he kind of made me smarter the way he kind of did things.
Yeah.
And you really had to watch film and study film in order to know some of the things that he was doing. And that's why he's the GOAT, honestly. And if he does leave the door open, I wouldn't be surprised if he came back, honestly, because I mean, what reason? He doesn't really have a reason to keep playing, but then what reason does he have not to keep playing except for, being able to be around his kids more?
Thoughts on the Super Bowl, real quick, these against the Rams and Bengals.
I wanted the Rams to win. Sorry. I was pulling for the Rams, obviously, because I trained with OBJ back in 2014. And he'd been through a lot. So I really wanted to see him win. I wanted to see Matthew Stafford win just because they were saying a lot about him as far as him being in Detroit and can he win and is he a franchise quarterback. And I always thought that, I always thought he was amazing and good. And now he has a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I was just happy for those two people because I really wanted to see them succeed.
And speaking of OBJ, congrats to him and his wife having a baby. They just had a baby recently. And speaking of, so I don't know if what's it like seeing those type of stories where a team wins the Super Bowl and then the player has to leave to have to see a baby born, and what's that like for you for an athlete to see that?
It's tough because you want to be in the room when your significant other is having a baby. And sometimes you have to choose.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think about this. This is the biggest game in all of the world. Super Bowl, everybody watches Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But my wife is in labor.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to win the Super Bowl and then to be able to get there and see your baby born, but then also it could be nerve-wracking because you feel like you're choosing between the sport that you love and your family. And I know some guys who have been at the game. We was in a tunnel about to run out, and it was like, yeah, my wife is having a baby right now. And I used to be like, what the hell here? You know what I'm saying? But they were so committed to the team.
Yeah.
And they were able to go afterwards, but it's rewarding in itself.
Yeah. So before we get to the last two things, we'll take one more fan question. They want to know, do you think Aaron Rodgers stays or goes?
And with the Packers,
Yeah.
I think he goes.
Okay. And where if he does leave, where?
I don't know. I think there are a couple of spots that would be open. I think. Like you have Washington,
Denver.
you have I'm not sure. I think Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe. I don't know what they're doing with Sam Darnold there. But I think he's ready to go. Honestly, I think he's just ready for like a shift, a change, if you will.
Do you think Denver is there possible?
Denver. Yeah, that was my other one. Denver is a high possibility, I believe. I really do.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see whenever he decides what he's gonna do, and everybody's waiting on him. He's holding up everyone right now, but
he could retire too.
Yeah. So we don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But the last two things here, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. I'm sure you know him. He's a former NFL coach. He's now the head coach for Grambling State. We're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe. So we'll send you the foundation so you and your wife can check it out.
Yes, sir. No problem. Love that.
Yeah, it's so horrible out there what we're seeing. So we got to stop. We're trying to find ways to stop human trafficking. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
Yeah. As far as saying to the doctors, as far as the foundation and human trafficking.
No. Would you like to say anything to all like the nurses, what they've been doing to help us out with the COVID situation?
Oh man. Well, first off, I want to commend them because obviously my wife is a nurse, so I seen it firsthand, and I want to commend them for actually taking care of it and continuing to fight this sickly thing that we've been dealing with since 2020. We're coming up on 3 years. So I just want to send my condolences to them, and then also send a thank you to them for continuing to allowing us to be able to do what we do. Because if they don't do what they do in the hospitals or in the offices, then we can't do what we do. So I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, because I have to go home to a nurse and I have to console her, off the things that she might have seen and that she did. So I commend you guys for being able to do that.
Yeah, tell your wife we said thank you for her service.
No problem. I definitely will. Definitely will.
So before we close this out, would you like to plug anything about your podcast to our fans, about your book, about your about A&M Fitness, Sports and Fitness, where they can find you on social media and your book?
Okay, yeah. So social media, my name is MoneyMark91. And if you go to my link tree, on my page. I have the first episode that we shot. We'll be sending out another episode this Thursday at 5:00. So we'll be posting that. But the Circle of M podcast, it has its own page. Just type in the Circle of M to find it. And a picture of me with a helmet, half face, should pop up. And you'll be able to see our content there. And we'll continue to put out content for you to be able to see. It's just things that you may want to talk about. I mean, not you may, but us talking about that will help you on your everyday life. So we will talk about suicide ideation, talking about life coaching, talking about forgiveness, ego, jealousy, envy. And you'll be able to hear guys' stories too. Some Super Bowl champions, some, things of that nature. So it'll be something good. And then A&M Sports Fitness, like you said, I own a gym in the Maryland area. It's for athletes and general population to come train. This overall community, and it's A33M Sports. That's what it is on Instagram. So yeah, that's pretty much all my Instagram handles. Twitter is Marcus Smith II, and then we have a Twitter for the Circle of M as well.
Yeah. So, man, there it is. That wraps up episode 988. Powerful story with former Louisville NFL outside linebacker Marcus Smith. The second, obviously, also former quarterback, I should put in there too. So, and also thank you to our fans for joining in and asking questions. And it was great questions to Marcus. And man, everybody learned a lot here today. Great story, unbelievable story. Like I said, powerful, inspiring. And Marcus, thank you for joining the show today. Continued success with your podcast, and we'll be continuing to follow it. And man, and shout out to you and Aaron Wallace for helping these kids out with training and not only other kids, but other people who want to come there. But like I said, thank you again. And we would love to have you back on the show at some point down the line so you can meet the full team. But man, keep up the great work. And I'm honored to have you on.
Man, no problem. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. That was awesome.
Yes.